Audit planning and field work. Today we will talk about audit program. Audit program is the nature, timing and extent planned audit procedures to be used at the assertion level for each material class of transactions, account balance and disclosure. The importance of audit program is to guide staff in audit work, provide evidence of proper planning and recording of audit work and as a basis for coordinating and supervising audit work. There are two types of audit program. Firstly is standard or pre-prepared audit program. This type of audit program can be used for audits in all industry. The disadvantages of the program is the auditor will just follow the procedures without thinking about effectiveness or significance of the procedures. Second type of audit program is tailored audit program. This type of audit suits to different type of industry. This include audit documentation. Audit documentation is the principal record of auditing procedure applied, evidence obtained and conclusions reached by the auditor and the engagement. It includes all necessary information to support the audit report. There are two types of files. Firstly is permanent audit files, PAF. It contain data of historical or continuing and permanent in nature relevant from year to year. The file are need to update each year. For example is long-term contract. Second is current audit files, CAF. It includes all working applicable to the year under audit. For example is the copy of the financial statement. These are the information work need to find before preparing working papers, which is types of audit engagement, nature of business, complexity of business and forms of audit reports. Working papers is the authority of the auditor that has been confidential. Next we will discuss about internal control. Management and auditors' responsibilities on the internal control is to detect or prevent fraud and error in the internal control system. Besides that is to evaluate and ascertain the internal control system. Management and auditor also responsible to understand internal control system. There are four objectives of internal control. Firstly is completeness. This is to ensure that no valid transactions have been omitted from the accounting record. Second is accuracy. It is to ensure that all transactions are accurate and consistent with the original transaction data. Next is authorization. Authorization needed to ensure that all transactions are approved by responsible personnel. Lastly is validity. This is to ensure that all transactions are recorded fairly and valid. Components of internal control. 1. Control environment. It is governance and management's overall attitudes, awareness and actions regarding internal control and its importance in the entity. Control environment sets the tone of an entity. 2. The entity's risk assessment process. Fiercely, the entity need to recognize the way of identifying and responding to business risk. Next, the needs to consider their significance and how it should be managed. Lastly, introduce plans and programs. 3. The information system. This includes accounting system that show methods and records established to initiate and record. 4. Controls activities. The policies and procedures established by management in order to ensure that its directives are carried out. 5. Monitoring of controls process used to assess the effectiveness of the performance of internal control. Evaluation of internal control. 1. Preliminary review. Reviews from the transactions to show how they are recorded. 2. Gathering information, understanding and preliminary revaluation of controls. 3. Tests of controls to obtain evidence that the internal control procedures are operating as planned. 4. Final evaluation. Auditor make final evaluation of the controls in the structure. Assessment and documenting understanding of internal controls. 1. Inherent limitations of internal control management override the internal control personnel errors of mistakes collusion among employees and with third parties. 2. Letter of management letter by auditor to management at the end of his audit work, listing any weaknesses in the operation of internal control. Content purpose of the letter purpose of the internal control investigation. The weaknesses notified are not necessarily all the weaknesses that may exist. Weaknesses recommendations for improvement request into on remedial action.